Hey friends, welcome back to Rita Talks. I'm Rita, and on this YouTube channel, I just share some of the thoughts, ideas that I've been thinking about, some of the things that have been going on in my life. And in today's video, I'm gonna talk about an idea that I came across in this book by Jimmy Carr, the comedian. And basically the book's name is Before and Laughter. And the idea is this idea of charisma versus charm. And basically I teased a bit in yesterday's video about talking about this, but basically in today's video I'm actually gonna dive deeper into why I thought it was really interesting. And like some of the parallels that I've drawn in my life when it comes to this idea, and like some things that it unlocked in my brain, that like it felt like such a light bulb moment. And so yeah, I mean, even the chapter on this idea is not that long in that book, but I just thought it was incredibly interesting, and it just triggered something in my head that I just thought was excellent. So basically, what's this charm versus charisma thing? And basically he says, basically charm and this is a direct quote from his book. Charm and charisma have come to mean the same thing in our language. We got sloppy, they're actually very different. Put very simply, charm is I come to you, and charisma is you come to me. With charisma, you want to say yes before you know what the question is. Charisma has got animal magnetism. Charm is very seductive, inviting, and intimate. The very embodiment of I like who I am with them. But I guess maybe this definition, like maybe just the first part is the interesting part. But yeah, like basically charisma are people like that are naturally have a very interesting personality, and charm are people who are very kind, like who are like who make you feel good when you're around them. And those two are two different things. And basically, like the reason I thought it was very interesting is that this is a pattern that I've seen in my life. I myself am more of a charm person. I don't innately have that much charisma. I'm kind of boring, right, in that sense. And the thing is, I think in our society, people with charisma, like, for example, Jimmy Carr is someone with charisma. And so basically, he has to lean into that part of himself. And the thing is, because a lot of people of charisma are like fun to be around and like exciting to be around and stuff like this, we come to somewhat overvalue that. And then people with charm tend to want to embody, like want to emulate people with charisma. But basically the thing about, like, it's really hard to emulate someone, because basically people with charisma, it comes easily to them to like they view the world in their very own specific way, which somehow allows them to have that sort of charisma and that sort of character. Whereas basically if you're someone whose nature is more inherently like that leans more towards charm, when you try to do charisma, it always falls flat. And this is something like that I've had to learn in my life, and obviously it's still a lesson that I'm learning, like depending on the situations, right? And yeah, it just made me think, like I just wrote paragraphs and paragraphs about this in my notes app on my phone, just reflecting on instances where I've seen this show up. So basically, like he like basically the main premise behind this is like charm versus charisma. You have one of them, and you have to stick to it. And that was the interesting idea that he shared. Like, you cannot both be charming and charismatic, because being charismatic requires acting in some specific odd ways that don't align with being charming. So, for example, for me, when I try to be charismatic, like, it kind of, like, as humans have an inherent bullshit detector, and if I'm pretending to be something that I'm not, like, people can tell that there's something off that does not align with my true nature. And so, like, just reading this, I was like, yes, I have always felt that there was something wrong when I tried to do that, and I couldn't really put the finger on it. And when he talked about this specific idea, I just immediately, like, stopped and reflected on it for, like, I was in the train when I was reading this, and I just kept thinking about it, and, like, thinking about different people in my life and which one they lean towards, and which times, basically, for example, I have felt that, okay, I was trying to be charismatic, and that has caused the people around me to kind of have that, like to lose trust in me, because I was not aligned with my specific character. And I was thinking of different examples in my life of people who are more charismatic and people who are more charming, and basically, like, thinking about times where they were trying to do something that's not aligned with their nature or their default character. And I just thought, like, oh my god, that makes so much sense, right? Like, that's why it felt off when they did this specific thing, right? That was the first observation that I made, that I thought. And basically, thinking about this in terms of growth mindset or fixed mindsets, like, the original framing of this is kind of a fixed mindset perspective. Like, you're either charismatic or charming and you cannot change. And I don't know to which extent that's true. I think maybe there is, like, you can gain some, like, you can get better at whichever one that you want to get better at. It's just that you have to make clear the boundaries between the times where you're actually being charismatic and the times where you're trying to be charming, because that has a huge impact on how it goes through if you're not clear which one you're trying to be, and it causes a lot of issues. So basically, I was thinking, maybe actually there is a growth mindset approach to this, that we can change it over time, or maybe get better at one of the two over time. But I guess, like, especially because being charismatic is so, I don't know, is so idealized, like, becoming a bit better at charisma when you're naturally charming requires some kind of internal work, or some, like, intentional actions towards doing that. And basically, because of the fact that when you try to be a charismatic person and your nature is leans more towards charming, it falls flat when you try to be that. You have to be willing to learn from the inevitable faux pas that you're gonna make, and completely own the fact that, I know I'm not very charismatic, or, like, I know I tried to do this thing and didn't quite work out, and I'm really sorry for hurt. Like, because I've noticed in my life that the people who say the most hurtful things, like, usually are people who lean more towards charm naturally, and then try to be charismatic, and it just like completely falls flat, and that actually causes like a lot of misunderstandings and stuff, where basically people's actions and stuff don't line up with their nature or like maybe intentions, because they don't have a grasp of what it means to be charismatic, and they just are copying what other people are doing without truly understanding the mechanics of that. I mean, I'm not saying that charismatic people understand the mechanics of their charisma. I think they have maybe an intuitive understanding of what's right and what's not, which naturally charming people do not have, and maybe vice versa. But yeah, I know for sure that like it goes in one direction. I'm not sure if the vice versa applies, but yeah. And so basically, the only way to like I also thought about like some exceptions to this rule of you can either be charismatic or either be charming, with people in my life that I thought, okay, these people are very charming, and they are also charismatic at times, and I just actually figured out that the reason that they're able to juggle between the two is that when they are being charismatic, they are doing it in a way that it's clear that it's a joke, basically, or that that's meant in like a non-judgmental way, and basically like it kind of complements their personality as a charming person, but just brings a bit more fun into the picture, which I try to do, right? I'm learning to get better at that. So yeah, I mean, basically being charismatic is just maybe what our society perceives as being cool, right? As the cool version of people that we see depicted in teenage movies, like with the popular people and all of that stuff. And basically that's pretty much just giving too much value to people who are naturally charismatic, and then everyone else trying to imitate that to maybe get the status that's associated with being charismatic. I don't know. And I myself did it for like a really long period of time because I did not understand it. And then I kind of figured out that I just need to stick to my strengths. Like, that's not who I am, and just maybe be charismatic, but in my own maybe charming way that's not hurtful. Because charismatic people can get away with saying hurtful stuff because they have built up this persona of themselves where that they're charismatic. And so the other way around is that if you have a reputation for yourself for you're extremely charming, when you do say something that's charismatic, that like to be charismatic you have to have some sort of controversy and like not like be opinionated. When you do that as a charming person, it like just falls flat and it just ends up being hurtful because you don't quite, like, most probably you don't quite have a grasp of the subtleties of saying something charismatic and it basically being understood as that and not being understood as just being mean. Which, yeah, it's a fine line, and you have to be wrong many times before you can figure out where the line is. So yeah, just thought it was a very, very interesting idea, and just made me reflect a lot about the kind of, like, which kind of character is which people in my life, and honestly just reflect about myself, because it just finally clicked. Like, I just thought it was extremely interesting. So yeah, definitely recommend you go check out the book by Jimmy Carr. So it's called Before and Laughter. It's a very fun book, and you can clearly see Jimmy Carr's charisma on display in this book. Very fun to read, very interesting, and inspiring also, given his work ethic, and like what it took him to get to where he was. And all of this, he's doing it with basically putting jokes like quite often, because he is a comedian, and so yeah, there are jokes sprinkled all throughout the book. It's very entertaining, and I think he's narrating it himself, which makes it very fun to listen to. So yeah, and yeah, that was like basically maybe one more thing that I wanted to talk about with regards to this topic is back to this topic of growth mindset. And maybe the only time that maybe I talked about this already before, but the only way that you can actually grow into being more charismatic from being a naturally charming person is by being aware, like accepting the fact that you are naturally not charismatic, and that counterintuitively makes you more aware of when you fall flat, so that you can adjust and actually start to pick up on the charisma cues better and try to incorporate them in a way that's non-hurtful and that actually lands with whoever your audience is. So yeah, it's like something, as I mentioned, that unconsciously I did not know about this concept before reading about it yesterday. But like I could feel that, right? Like it's something that it's hard to put your finger on when you're in a situation. You don't know what it is, but something is off, and you notice it, and it's so cool to see, like to have actually this feeling somewhat quantified by this heuristic, or this specific idea of charisma versus charm, and yeah, just and the suggestion to just stick to the one that you're naturally inclined towards. And basically I'm contesting that, saying that okay, if you do want to be a bit more charismatic, you can do it, but in a way that's aligned with your by default charm approach. So yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about for today. Thanks a lot for tuning in. You can click here to watch my previous video on this channel, so don't already prepare for this one, or you can click here to watch my latest video on the channel overall. Thanks again for tuning in. I hope you have a fantastic rest of the day, night, whichever time of day it is where you are right now. Bye for now, and I'll hopefully see you in the next one. Bye bye.